though I managed to track down the player known as War Chief on the brackets, and we can confirm at this point, dispel any rumors, Stardust was not a no-show. He did actually just straight up lose 0-2. Apparently, War Chief says he's not too confident in the game, but his TVP is his best matchup by far, saying it's his very, very good matchup. So, I mean, there are players like that, the savants of one particular matchup. Some folks really weak on others, some folks strong in particular ones. So Stardust will hopefully come back for the third qualifier and maybe have a better run over there. That being said, we are catching game number 3. We did not cast the first 2 matches of this, but as we catch the last game, the winner goes on to fight against State. So in the bottom left corner of the map, it's going to be on the defense. It's Believe.
In the top right, as the red Protoss, it's Picasso.
Now, it's a little interesting for me. Picasso's not gone for the super dedicated proxy with this, but it's still one that would be scouted. Very classically speaking, you do send your probe to scout in PvP just because of all this free scouting information you get, but thinking back to every time we've ever cast Believe, A, he's not typically a scouter versus any race, and B, he has been not notorious, but a fairly all-in player. So he might be sitting here thinking, okay, I've got this build, this 3-gate, it's going to come out, it's going to hit strong, but little does he know what's waiting for him outside of his own natural.
Well, there goes the probe. It's going to scout the natural for the very, very direct proxy, and it looks like it will see this. I think it had a hard time not seeing it. They go like the very edge of that ramp, so seeing is usually the first step. Now, it is only 1 gateway, so his reaction doesn't have to be technically as severe as if it was 2, but he might still maybe not take the 3rd gas, maybe go on his own gateway, or just turn out the 2 zealots that he wants to. I think he can take both gas, though, when it's only 1 gateway. I mean, it's not the scariest, and with good probe control, you might even lose any probes.
I mean, this is not a typical gateway, though. Like, sometimes we see this come, and you're like, oh, well, there's 5 extra probes for the defending player. They can afford to lose a couple, and it's not so bad. But this time, it's not the case. With this less all-in, but still very aggressive opener, it's going to be really hard for Believe to lose anything, if he does lose anything, that is.
Yeah. And I mean, he's able to take all his gases, he's going to get Mothership Core, he's going to get a Stalker, he's going to start that Warp Gate. This pressure has really not done anything, and while you're not losing out horribly on the macro sense, you are losing out on a gateway eventually.
Oh, nice. Controlling that Zealot, pulling it back. Keep it on combat, 10 seconds, gets those shields running once again.
Does not do anything. It did not. I think the hope is that, with the first Zealot, you at least get a couple of probes pulled, maybe 1 or 2 kills, and then really not getting anything. It's just, it's not a great start for Picasso. Trying to do something with his Stalkers. Back at home, he does slap down his own 2nd gas.
All this goes on. Big shout out to Terrible Terran in Exile for their incredibly long resubs. Thank you guys both for coming back to the channel and continue to support us. Now, Warp Tech is so far from finished, and it's not like Picasso is chronoing this out, so production-wise, this might start tilting a little bit in the favor of Believe, just because any extra reinforcements are going to take quite some time to get across the map. In fact, I'm surprised that he's going 3 gateways deep with half a Nexus of energy and not chronoing that Warp Gate. That blows my mind right now.
Well, I guess it might still pair up with the Warp Gates, the gateways finishing, so I don't know. He's going to save him to actually use it for production chrono as opposed to research chrono. But it is interesting to see him go for the 3 gates. I think it's the I don't know, it's like the response I expect anyways. You already start off so aggressive to go even more aggressive after that, and actually, since you are still being aggressive, you don't just lose out in a gateway when you try and get your own Nexus back at home. Because you see people do that too, try and macro out of a single proxy gateway, and well, that proxy gateway is just, it's forfeit. Like, you aren't going to save it that way. But with a 3 gate, that's already a proxy pylon, and you're going to save it.
Well, it's this is a game-winning, really aggressive, abusive all-in that has happened in the past. We've seen really good Protoss players torn down by it, and a lot of it comes down to the production, but I mean, Believe does have that supply lead right now. He's not too far behind as far as Stalker count goes, and it looks like, yeah, Picasso is just going to back away and take a Nexus. Now, this is kind of funny. We've talked about the awkwardness that is PvP and expanding, and Believe, again, not really being that big of a scouter. He'll see the disengage, but does he know that his opponent's throwing a Nexus up? Because he kind of has to throw his own down soon, or he has to find a way to kill this Nexus to even that game out.
I just love that Picasso, he bothers to get everything, you know, warp gated in, and he doesn't even use his warp gate. There he goes, trying to use it now. You can see that he kind of regretted like pulling back as quickly as he did. I really wonder why he decided to do that as opposed to maybe not all leaning, right? Because you got the Nexus, you got Blink, but at least applying pressure and maybe halting his opponent's Nexus even further.
Use it before you lose it, man.
So that's a little odd.
It's a rule of life.
I guess so. But we'll go into a macro game with Picasso a little bit ahead of the Nexus, but similar probe counts.
That's kind of a cool fake out, yeah. I mean, yeah, he could have hallucinated a Phoenix. It would have been a little bit faster, yeah, but there's a chance he to drive some probes off or cause some fear. Either way, they do both have their Nexuses coming out, and yeah, it's weird to phrase it because, like, unless you watch a ton of PvPs and you somehow don't fall asleep, no, I'm just kidding. We'll try to play them. This Nexus can be such a game-winning move if you can get ahead a base over your opponents. I guess that just kind of translates to how big of a deal the economy really is in PvP.
Yeah. Robos for both players. Forge starting out sooner for Believe. And they may just go into very typical compositions here. A couple of Immortals popped out, +1 eventually on the way. The question I really feel like is, are they going to get Immortals, or are they going to invest more into Blink Stalkers at first? On Expedition Lost, not a very good Blink Stalker map. Not for like abusing it anyways. It's not even... You can't even do like the 4 Stalker jump in and kill probes on this map unless you break down the back rocks. And then it doesn't require Blink to walk up a ramp. So I do wonder. Now this Blink does catch the Observer. That is nice. Now we could freely kill the rocks.
And if the question of Blink there or not, he's now fully aware. Guardian Shield's going to be a pretty big deal with these sentries, so losing one right away, that's going to suck.
Yeah, I'm not sure Believe realized that Picasso was going to have a Blink forward, loses his own Observer. Doesn't lose any Stalkers, though.
I typed in Twitch chat, but I just want to say this publicly so everyone makes sure to hear it, guys. We never intentionally don't cast people. I know a lot of you guys want to see Avilo, amongst others. I chose not to try and get Avilo games early, not because we hate him or anything, but he's streaming his own matches. I mean, if you want to see him, go watch Avilo. We're trying to get some of the people who aren't streaming their own matches who will give us some good games, and there is no bias outside of this, and I would appreciate if you guys didn't try to make it a bigger deal than it is, because there is no drama here. It's just simply trying to get as much coverage as possible.
By confronting that, you just made it a bigger deal. You know, Twitch chat.
Oh, is that like when I tell them not to spam?
Exactly.
Guys, don't type Kappa in chat right now. Swear to God, you'll all get banned.
I see what you're doing here. I see what you're doing. No, anyways, I see what Picasso is doing. He is being a little aggressive without Colossus. Still getting a few more probes back at home, though, so this might just be like, let's see what I can do with the units that I have. They're very similar units to that of Believes, though, so I'm not sure what he thinks he's going to do here.
Yeah, Force Field's on the Rams, gonna make this awkward. Almost gets. Oh, Will, no! The last Force Field was so good!
Dang.
Gets the. That strips away so much power from this attack. An unbelievable amount of damage is removed from the army, and it's not like Picasso can't win with what he has if Believe also plays a little bit derpy, gets caught off guard in weird Force Fields, but that was a huge snipe to reduce the damage coming in from his opponent. Great moves out of Believe. It cost him 4 Force Fields, but it was totally worth it.
I think so. I mean, I think he's really just good without force fields, you know? Those would have been important if his army was, like, you know, really small and he needed to force field out the army, but it's not. He even has a Photon Overcharge to back it up. Now a Colossus. I think it also have a Time Warp. No, just either or. Time Warp or Photon Overcharge. But either one. I mean, I really don't think Picasso's going to be able to break up here. But what he can do is just contain, very soft contain, but nonetheless a contain, and try and get up to his own tech or his own third base. Looks to be the choice of tech. He is already behind 2 Colossus, though. Maybe 3, depending on how much Believe Kronos' Colossus production.
I mean, if a third base is obviously the first thing you think of, but tech, very important. So, I mean, there's going to be the upgrade advantage for Believe versus the possible just... Well, I guess the third base is not really in the cards here because not storing any sort of money, not making any extra probes.
Yeah, he's really just behind on everything. And as it's obvious that Picasso has left, Believe will... I guess get his own third, right? He's already had an attack. That's the only thing he needs to get his own third. Now he knows that he can. Even gonna check for some proxy pylons. I like that move. I do.
Yeah, make sure he's got control of his side of the map is a pretty big deal. But there's that third base actually coming down. Wasn't too sure this was gonna be the case because he was really dumping it, catching up on Colossus, getting his own +1 up. But Now this becomes a little bit scary because it's a point of contention he's going to have to defend, and as we see, Believe now scouts this, either going to put one of his own down immediately or go full ham to cancel, or even both, and looks like that actually the latter will be the option.
Well, +2, Extender Lance, Charge are all on the way. Looks like Extender Lance did finish. +2 might finish with this hack. I don't know about Charge.
Ooh, this is scary. What's going on
That's
here?
awkward. That's
Oh,
awkward.
good catch with the rocks! Almost forcefully force fields in the Zealots to fight, but gives up positioning in the main for some Stalkers to walk in.
Oh.
Gives up positioning on the third for the Colossus to be over here.
Yeah, it was more focused on the
Oh,
Colossus.
oh,
but
I
this
don't
might
know if
be
it's worth it, though.
Gets the Mothership Core.
No recall. Oh, Believe just throwing everything away right now. No.
Went sideways. Didn't even get the Nexus.
Well, you know, Picasso paints sideways and upside down and all over the place, so
Does
his pictures look like it at least.
okay, give me that much.
Yo, what if? I mean, we don't know. There's no cameras back there. What if he actually hung upside down to paint, and that's how the abstract worked?
You would actually have to hang upside down.
Well,
That's the only
actually,
way
it'd probably
you
be easier to rotate the canvas upside down, thinking on it.
But doesn't that just mean
than
that you're...
physically hang upside down yourself.
But if you rotate the canvas, doesn't that just mean that you're... I mean, like... You'd have to start drawing the head at the bottom and, like, feet at the top to be drawing upside down. Well, anyways.
Very important
This is
information
awkward.
being built up by Zombie Grub in a very elegant way. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks. Well, anyways, so that was kind of a big throw of units.
I
don't
kind
think
of
it's...
feel like...
Well, that might actually be a throw of a game.
That's what I'm
army
leaning
supply.
towards. The army supply is so bad. I mean, I guess the thing is he does have still more Colossus than his opponent because he got started sooner than his opponent. So, as far as value goes, maybe the army doesn't look the same, but 3 Colossus can get a lot done. It's not so... When it's 5 to 6, that's different, but 2 to 3, that third one's a huge asset.
It's gonna have to really rely on a good choke. It's gonna have to rely on the Immortals shooting down Zealots, opposed to getting on top of more important, more susceptible units like Colossus and Blink Stalkers. But it is possible. You're certainly right. It's such a bummer that he did not get that third. At least he could have gotten that third. Did not. They lose a couple of Stalkers here as Blink is on cooldown now. Going out to meet Picasso's army, something that Bleed doesn't want to do, I would say. I mean, that's pretty risky. And in fact, if he had met him in the middle of the map, they would have had even upgrades.
If he fights up here, though, I mean, like this is good for Believe defensively. You fight, force that funnel into the choke. Force field's not such a big deal. Colossus spread out at the top. He's got his own Archons. And classic thing here happening in PvP where, you know, Picasso gave Believe a lot of time to recover, so he's actually got a sizable army to fight with.
Again, moving out here, the Colossus on the front lines, and Immortal's getting great shots off. In fact, the Blink Stalker's being used to drag on the Colossus as well. I think it's a great start for Picasso.
Fodder for both players dissipating.
It's
the Colossus
that take it on?
Yeah, I think it's the Colossus that are ultimately going to win this, but this is more buffer for him to Believe going down in flames here. Map number 3. Cutting with the last thing he has living. Colossus starting to dance. Immortal's doing the Gangnam Style. That's going to be, man, isn't it weird to consider that's an old reference now? Jesus. That's going to be the end of the third. That's going to be the end of his life. If the Zealots were warped in directly on top of the Colossus, then there were no Zealots to buffer from Picasso, Believe could actually turn this fight around. But it's the fact that he never took out all the Zealots, he never took out the cannon fodder. GG is called, and this PvP will wrap up with Picasso winning, and now moving on to fight against State in a best of 3. And I believe that's